Hi there, I'm Zoot Java. Today I'd like to talk about a hot topic today in the 2020 election. The idea of voter fraud in relation to the mail-in voting. President Trump and other Republicans have said that mail-in voting is vulnerable to fraud, and the Democrats think that this is a ridiculous idea. Oddly enough, however, the highly liberal New York Times felt exactly the same as Trump. In the Times article from 2012, they had said that voting by mail is now common enough and problematic enough that election experts say there have been multiple elections in which no one can say with confidence which candidate was the deserved winner. This quote was taken from a front-page story the Times published just before the 2012 presidential election that apparently cast grave doubt on the reliability of widespread mail-in voting, basically saying that it was more vulnerable to fraud than conventional voting was. The headline of the Times 2012 story was "Error and Fraud at Issue as Absentee Voting Rises." Oddly enough, the Times has an entirely different opinion on mail-in voting since Trump spoke out against it. Recently, on August 31st, the Times ran a story with the headline that Trump is pushing a false argument on vote-by-mail fraud. Here are the facts. They claim that experts say voting by mail can conduct safely, despite Republican claims of corruption, with concerns mounting over how the country can conduct elections during a pandemic, and Democrats pressing for alternatives to in-person voting. President Trump has begun pushing a false argument that has circulated among conservatives for years that voting by mail is a recipe for fraud. My take on this? Well, I suppose that everything that the Times was so concerned about 8 years ago has suddenly not just gone away, but has turned completely in the opposite direction. But suddenly, it seems that the entire mainstream media says that claims about mail-in fraud are false. In that story written by the Times during Obama's election in 2012, they wrote that Republicans were more likely to cast absentee ballots than the Democrats were. So when voting by mail appeared to be in favor of the Republicans, then the accusations of manipulation and fraud were cast all over the place. Now that the Democrats are expected to vote by mail in greater numbers, well, time to change that narrative. The group that constantly takes its bat and ball and goes home because they can't get what they want or don't think that they will are not the ones to be trusted. If they will change the rules constantly at the last minute to suit themselves, just think of how they'll think nothing of screwing over you, the little person. Well, now for the part you've all been waiting for, my bad joke. Joe Biden had to get a medical checkup before debating Donald Trump. Biden said to the doctor, "You know, Doc, I'm starting to forget things." And the doctor said to Biden, "Really? How long have you had this condition?" Biden said, "What condition?" Anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps me out. And even better than that, it annoys the usual suspects, and you know who they are. Hit the bell for notifications of more of my words of wisdom, and share my content on all your social media because I get censored by all the usual suspects. Until later, have a Java on Zoot.